Hello, my name is Alexandra Harmon, and this is my character presentation on Bojack Horseman. Bojack Horseman is a cartoon TV show on Netflix about an anthropomorphic horse dealing with mental health issues while being a washed up celebrity from a fictional hit 90s TV show horsing around, and he's constantly trying to gain recognition again through various projects like books, TVs, and films. He's voiced by Will Arnett. For context, he's 50 years old. He's a drug addict and an alcoholic. He is highly self conscious, even though he doesn't really show it externally because he does not really mesh with others socially and does a lot of what he wants when he wants. Very self absorbed and pessimistically nihilistic, meaning says nothing matters, so I'm going to wallow in my own self pity and not care about who I hurt because, like I said, nothing matters. He craves, but he's also very jealous of others with optimistic outlooks like Mr. Peanut Butter, Todd, even Diane and Princess Carolyn have more optimistic outlooks on life. He craves attention and recognition based off of his traumatic childhood, where he was constantly encouraged to perform, perform, perform. And that was the only time that he would get some positive attention. And it spurred him to become a celebrity. For physical development, he's in his 50s, so he's in the final stage of development, no longer physically growing, and he's noticed a decline in physical ability since he's been young. He's strong because he's a horse, but he has very low endurance because he does not do things over and over again. His diet, he eats a lot of junk food, and he struggles with drug and alcohol addictions throughout his whole life. For cognitive development, Piaget, he would be in the formal operational stage. The source of his depression and anxiety is often motivated by him overthinking on abstract concepts such as love, the meaning of his life, morality, and what others think of him. According to Vygotsky, his abusive and cold mother affects his cognitive development because he relies on, and the evidence in this is he relies on MKOs, more knowledgeable others, particularly women, such as Princess Carolyn, seen on the bottom, Diane Nguyen, seen on the top, Kelsey Jennings, his director at a point, and Anna Spanakopita, his publicist at a point. As an actor, he exhibits good metacognition and introspection, although he doesn't often apply it to real life. From social development, he exhibits the trust versus mistrust stage often, even though it is the first of Erik Erikson's 8 psychosocial crises. And it's actually seen in the show him being ignored, crying as a child by his mother, who chose to get high instead. So it's caused him to be mistrustful of others and to damage relationships. He shows knowledge of social etiquette, but chooses to do whatever he wants instead. Through Bandura's social learning theory, he has been very affected by observing other people around him doing drugs and consuming a lot of alcohol, and it ramped up his problem even more. And it also encouraged him to be very self absorbed. In the show, he was encouraged by a producer to not stand by his friend publicly because his friend was publicly outed as a gay person. Moral development. Moral stages, according to Kohlberg, He seems to be able to reach the highest level moral stage, the post conventional stage where he can engage in concepts separate from himself. But when it comes to personal matters, he reverts back to stages two, self interest, and three, conformity. So, for example, in the episode about the muffin controversy, he goes against society's norms by saying that not every person in the military is necessarily good. He goes by his own principles on that, but later um, takes that back because of the backlash that he got from society. So he reverted back to stage three, conformity. And Gilligan's morality of care, he normally has a very selfish survival orientation. He considers his personal needs. Um, and this actually led to the death of one of his friends that he was on a bender with. And he decided to not call the police when he should have, because he did not want to be seen as responsible for her death because he was afraid of the pushback that he would get. And for motivation, with expectancy versus value, Bojack isn't very confident in his skills, and it leads him to not really put his all into his career, even to go as far as sabotage it by leaving set or getting high on set. His self-efficacy is low. He often refers to himself as a piece of shit and talks negatively about himself throughout the series. His through social learning theory, he's seen his parents behave pretty much like horrible people, and he has exhibited the same habits in multiple ways. Like his dad was a cheater, and he eventually became a cheater himself. Learning needs for I would do for motivation. I would create opportunities for him to show his mastery in the show. He was able to be a theater professor for a while, and it was probably the best that he had felt in a very long time. I would give realistic feedback and remind him how his tasks are related to him personally, and make sure that he gets to socialize with other people and have a buddy system like in AA meetings, which were also positive for him. Learning needs, he really needs to work on his moral and social development. Having someone that he trusts, like Diane Nguyen, involved with him, that's very flexible and patient, but also very tough on him when he makes bad moral decisions. Learning needs, teaching. You have to demonstrate a high ability to perform. Kelsey Jennings, for example, was a very respected director. And for another example, Dr. Champ, seen in the bottom, was also a very respected therapist in his rehab. And that concludes my video on Bojack Horseman.